In this video, we're going to implement business-related metrics using the Prometheus format via Java EE and the MicroProfile Metrics API. So in the past, I've recorded a similar video showing this using plain Java EE and the Prometheus Java API. And for the integration, we had to develop a single class, a single JAX-RS resource. And now using MicroProfile Metrics, this is even simpler for us if we use an application container that supports MicroProfile. So the metrics project aims to enable developers to expose telemetry data metrics that are specified here in the specification to support out of the box a couple of output formats, for example the Prometheus format. And the specification also requires the runtime to emit a couple of metrics out of the box. So we have information about the JVM and about the overall system. And the specification also comes with, I would say, a very productive and usable programming model that I want to show you. So assume we have a similar application like last time, the Hello Prometheus application, that now besides Java EE also includes the API for MicroProfile Metrics. And since our application container supports this functionality, we can choose the scope provided. So this means this dependency will not end up in our deployment artifact, and we can realize thin deployments, which will speed up our continuous delivery pipeline later on. And then we have a resource, a JAX-RS resource that for us emits some coffee. So we can ask to give us some coffee using this coffees managed bean. So this is a CDI, a dependent scope managed bean, but we could equally well, if we have a Java EE project, choose some EJBs. If we, for example, provide the stateless annotation on this, and then we could probably even speed up a little bit this application by pooling this bean. But now we want to expose a metric, emit how often this business method is being invoked. And there is an annotation for that shipped with metrics, with MicroProfile, the add_counted annotation. And that already registers a metrics for us with a given name that we can override, that we can choose. Let's say this should be total coffees retrieved. And we can specify this to be absolute true, so this won't be name-spaced, but that this name is the sole name of our metric. And also we want this to be monotonic true. So this means that the counter will always increase. Otherwise, if this would be false, then after the method returned, it would decrease again. So this is one way, and this is already sufficient to register a counter for us that will then later on be emitted in the specific format, for example, for Prometheus. If we do want more control over when we want to increment our counter, for example, then what we could also do, or what we could do instead, is that we inject a counter. So there's a counter type, or a type for a couple of other type of metrics as well. And that will be injected using a CDI qualifier metric, the annotation. So let's say this is coffees consumed. This is another metric. And again, this metric can be named. Let's call this total coffees consumed. Also absolute. And then this is a metric that will automatically be created for us, an application scoped bean actually, so we could inject this in several places. And then we take the counter and increment it once the method will be invoked. So obviously these two metrics will now output and return the same value, but just for the example, let's include this here. So what else is there? There's, for example, a gauge and other types for the metrics API. You can have a look at the specification for that. So now let's build and ship our project. Let's build and deploy it using Maven clean package, which builds the whole thing to a thin WAR file for us. And then we will ship it in Docker. So we have a Docker file here where we include the whole thing to be shipped with OpenLiberty. So OpenLiberty is a Java EE compliant application server, but it also supports MicroProfile. So in the configuration, in the server XML, this is how we enable the features to, in our case, support both Java EE7 and the MicroProfile Metrics feature. Nothing else, that's fine. And we may also include, some authentication so that not everybody can access our metrics. And then we can build the whole thing into a Docker image. So let's do this. We issue Docker builds. Let's call this Hello Prometheus version 2. Then we build and run our Docker container. Docker run, we expose 2 ports, 9080. This is the default HTTP port and the port for SSL as well. And then we can run our application server. So now we can use a second shell to, for example, use curl to access our application. 9080, that will be discovered under Hello Prometheus, resources, coffee. And once our application is up and running and created everything, including the metrics binding for MicroProfile, then we can access it and ask for coffee. And now we can also access and read the metrics. So unlike in the last video where this was part of the application, now we have a resource that is simply called metrics, and that will output the information for us. So since we include authentication and everything, it makes sense to output this actually over HTTPS. So this will be the other port for 3 metrics, and then we will have actually to provide our credentials, and then we get a lot of metrics back. So these are actually the metrics that are required to be emitted by the application server from the specification, but also our application scoped business related metrics that we just created. So let's say we ask for coffee 2 times more, and now this counter will be increased as well. What we can also do is that we specifically ask for a scope such as application, and then we only get our business related metrics back. And therefore we can choose different scopes to be emitted here. And this is how we include Prometheus methods in Java EE projects that use MicroProfile. Thanks for watching.